Hi, I hope you all are doing well. Today I thought I would walk you through one of my favorite ways to deal with stress and overwhelm. I find myself in a particularly stressful and overwhelming time of life where I have to make a lot of decisions in a very short amount of time. And one of my favorite ways of sort of decompressing and dealing with that is to turn to my journal or my typewriter. I just got my typewriter in December of last year, so it's a relatively new way of processing my thoughts, but I am absolutely loving it. So I thought that I would create a video where I went through all of the processing on screen. And I realized that that was a little bit more than I was willing to share at the moment. So instead, I decided to do one of my other favorite things, which is turn to a piece of poetry and sort of figure out if I can find some threads of connection to whatever that poem is saying. This particular poem I found in a really old book that we have called The Poetry from the Woods. It's a gorgeous leather-bound copy with gold inlay, and it has these lovely short poems that walk you through the seasons of the year. I, of course, on this summer day, chose a poem titled Summer. I'll read it for you now while I'm typing. From brightening fields of other fair disclosed, child of the sun, refulgent summer comes, in pride of youth and felt through nature's depth. He comes attended by the sultry hours and ever fanning breezes on his way, while from his ardent look the turning spring averts her blushed face, and earth and skies and all smiling to his hot dominion leaves. It felt particularly appropriate on the hot, humid day that I was filming this in, where there were mosquitoes flying around and I had sweat dripping down my face. But it was also really beautiful. It was near the end of the day in those sultry hours that the poet speaks about. And there were breezes that would pass through the yard and ruffle the papers and trees. And I had forgotten how much I really enjoyed sitting out in the heat. I have lived for a number of years in my life without air conditioning, and sometimes in really hot places. And I live with air conditioning now, but I realized how much I had gotten out of touch with heat, and I don't feel it as much as I do. I don't let it sort of seep into me and order my days. And I wondered, in reflecting on that poem, what being out of touch with the cold and heat and various fluctuations of those two things, what has that done to my relationship with the environment? So you can see here, I typed it out, and you can see that the poet actually has capitalized some of those words like summer and sun and nature and breezes. And I think it's not only to emphasize them, but it's also to give them life, to make them seem like actors in this stage that's interacting with summer, and really giving them that life that we interact with. They become things that shape our life, and in very small and sometimes very big ways. And this summer especially, it's 2021, and we can see how heat has shaped the lives of people in really, really big ways this summer in particular. So just some notes about the tools I'm using, as I know many of you, like myself, watch these videos to see what other artifacts people have. So I'm writing in a Rhodia A5 Goldbook, which I've talked about before. Not my favorite. It's taking me a really long time to get through this notebook, partially because it's not my favorite, but it does have very nice paper. And I still enjoy using it and drawing in it and doing some basic watercolors too. It's in a notebook cover by Catanetta Notebook Covers. It's a cotton, very pretty brown. It has a great texture to it. And then I'm writing with my Pilot Custom 823, which I've also talked about, and I won't talk about anymore except to say that I love this pen. I'm sad that I did not buy it sooner because it was so worth the purchase. I use this thing every single day. It produces a really beautiful small script, glides across the page, is just as fun to write with as my typewriter, which brings me to my typewriter. So the typewriter I got for Christmas, it's a Smith-Corona Corsair. It's small, it's blue, it's from the 1960s, it has a little cover, and you can easily tote it around. It has been the perfect first typewriter to use and learn on, and definitely an incentive to start growing my typewriter collection. I have used the typewriter every single week since I got it, or almost every single week. And it's been really fun to learn on, to learn, how to type, because typing on a typewriter does require a little bit more finesse than typing on a computer. And it's a different experience. It's obviously slower, it's more methodical, but also just the clacking is so rhythmic that you can really kind of get into a flow with your typing in a way that I can't quite do with the computer, because I'm so distracted. I'm very easily distracted by everything. The paper that I also use is really special too. It's paper that is from my grandparents' house. I just lost my grandmother in May. And so we've been clearing out her house and finding things. I found some fountain pens that my granddad and great-granddad used to use. And I found this typewriter paper, which is really nice, and it's kind of translucent and really great to use with this new typewriter, and very special to have in my notebook. This is actually the first time I typed on it. So with that said, I will leave you to write your own reflections on whatever environment or season of life you may find yourself in. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week, a restful week, and I will see you next time.